Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So, from the moment of death, the Sakaratul Maut, entering Barzakh, and thereafter, grade after grade, those veils of darkness are being removed until one reaches one's ultimate destination in resurrection. One's ultimate state of resurrection from the very beginning, even right now, depending on what your actions are, it exists right now at any given time. But for that ultimate destination in resurrection, for that to appear before you, you would have to undergo trials and tribulations in this world, then death, the Sakaratul Maut, all those degrees, one after the other, which removes the veils one after the other until that ultimate destination appears before you. Otherwise, right now, before you, at any given time, that ultimate share that you've created for yourself exists. So in Barzakh though, just Ayatollah Hassan Zadeh has a piece he's written that he says, much of that which appears before man beyond the physical realm is tantamount to the appearance and manifestation of one's incorporated dispositions that have either been earned positively or negatively and sown by man within his essence's farm. After all, each person is his own harvest, farmer and farm, i.e., each person is the guest of his own tablecloth, his soul's tablecloth. As the tradition goes, ad-dunya mazra'atul akhirah. The dunya is the hereafter's farmyard. But who's the farmer? You. Who's the farm? Your soul. And what is the seeds? Your actions. The harvest, the manifestation of your actions. It's all within. Nothing is going to happen outside you. So acknowledge, Ayatollah Hassan Zadeh, just that the soul's incorporated dispositions, that which you've incorporated in this world, actions-wise, ethics-wise, are the fuel to one's barzakhi images. The barzakhs of souls are in accordance to that which one has built in the world. And elsewhere he says, all perceptions and apparitions of the hereafter arise from your grid of existence and are internal. Like with summoning of spirits, rather than meaning that someone is external to you, outside the house, and enters through the door, rather it's referring to a reality which entails the vertical elevation of man. Okay, so here we stopped at this part of Imam where he said, and from there one enters Barzakh, afflicted with the pressure of the grave. So the pressure of the grave too, depending on how things manifest before you, all the scorpions, all the spiders, the fire, these are all manifestations of the soul. It's not physical scorpions, so it's not a physical pressure of the grave. If you open the grave, the corpse is there, that's it. You're not going to see anything extra. The iron rods, taking the milk that you drank during infancy, iron rods piercing through your body, all this is true. It's all happening, but it's not physical. And don't think because it's not physical, it's less painful. Actually, semi-immaterial pain is much more than physical pain. Physical pain is limited. But semi-immaterial and immaterial pains, they're not limited. Okay. Continue with Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayhis, that piece on intercession. As has been alluded to in the ahadith, by Imam Sadiq alayhi salam that Barzakh is yours alone. And from there starts the terror of the day of resurrection. The terror starts there, from Barzakh onwards. So when he says Barzakh is yours alone, meaning that we can't do anything for you. Not that it's impossible, but usually because of the veils of concealed shirk at least, we're all going to be affected, except the mukhlasin, who are free from concealed shirk. The mukhlasin were those who have no concealed shirk, and even Iblis has no jurisdiction over them. Other traditions by Imam Sadiq alayhi salam include where he says, those who treat our salat lightly won't reach our intercession. Look, that this pairing up of lights for those who treat salat lightly is going to take a long time, if it even happens in the first place. Okay. So from there starts the terror of the day of resurrection and the encountering of the stations, which number 50. One does not know in which of these stations the fire and burning will purify the soul and eliminate those vicious immaterial dispositions and burn out and put an end to the veils of darkness, so that, as a result, the light within one shines forth, thus acquiring one's share of shafa'ah. But we don't know when it's going to happen. But moment after moment, stage after stage, station after station, the punishment, the burning, whatever, which is a result of your own actions, it's cause and effect. Now it's being manifested before you and you're going to suffer. But eventually, that light will become free, will become liberated. Then it can pair up that shafa'ah. And when we say it pairs up with shafa'ah, the light of wilaya, we don't mean the wali is independent from Allah, but all of Allah's attributes now, His attributes, His jamali attributes can manifest. One has acquired and deserved and is to be a recipient of Allah's jamali attributes now. Before, he was preoccupied with Allah's jalali attributes. He had to go through those stages. Those veils had to be burned. So one doesn't know when the soul will actually be purified from those veils of darkness, so that as a result the light within one shines forth and they will get their share of shafa'ah. And here Allah's attributes, jamali attributes manifesting, forgiving, mercy, all these things in another way now. As we said, the Imam is a manifestation of Allah's attributes. It's not something they're doing independently. It's all Allah's attributes in play. When you define shafa'ah, you have to be careful of that, rather than the speeding policeman example. So all these, the sakarat, barzakh, the 50 stations, are to filter out hell during the journey, so that one's ultimate fate not be hell. Shafa'ah arises, assuming there's some light there to pair up in the first place, during all this and before one's entrance into that ultimate hell. Although in Barzakh too, we call that hell too, the hell, those stations and everything, but there are degrees to hell. Then Imam continues and says, if you ask, if this is the case, what's the meaning of dua? After all, the recommendation of dua even passes the threshold of darura, being one of the fundamentals of religion. It's so recommended that it's one of the fundamentals of religion. What's the meaning of dua then? If we're going to go through all this burning and everything, where does dua play a role? My reply is, what have you intended by the term dua? Is it tantamount to the mere requests that we exercise to one another and thus asking for conventional pardoning after conventional sins, like the policeman and speeding example? We have stated before that the sins of the day of resurrection are not arbitrary, and so pardoning will not be arbitrary either. Rather, dua is made up of a reality, and its meaning has been specified in the ahadith that state, du'as, they are ibadah per se. Ad-du'a huwa al-ibadah. Yes, our du'as are ibadah and will save us from the fire and torment, but what kind of du'a, what kind of ibadah is this du'a that you have when you say, "Oh Allah, forgive me," when you're at the same time cut off from all else and focus all one's attention to the divine courtyard and have His fear within your heart? It's this state that will now grant you light and make you attain to the potential of shafa'ah. So dua is a true dua and ibadah only when you utter the dua, you truly break from all else. So when you, for example, go to a bank manager to get a loan, or you want to do an exam, you go and get a mentor, a teacher, or other things. When you pray to Allah to be given the loan or to pass the exam, you really have to detach from the bank manager or that teacher, the mentor, and really see that it's only Allah who is the provider, who is the grantor of knowledge. When you do a dua, that breaking from all else, if that happens and you only rely on Allah, this will create a light within you. That's the light of wilaya, which that will pair up in the hereafter. That will be your key to shafa'ah, to divine intercession. Otherwise, if it's a dua which is just superficial and you're depending on other than Allah at the same time, that's not going to be light. You're still attached to the worldly life. Okay? So, and we said, shafa'ah, it's not going to exist in the hereafter, independently, that is. It has to be acquired in this dunya. You take it with you to the hereafter. Shafa'ah is a manifestation of how much guidance from the Imams, who are manifestation of Allah's attributes, you took in this dunya. On a par with how much guidance you received, in proportion to that you will have shafa'ah. There's one verse in the Holy Quran that Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu anfiqu mimma razaqnakum, that give infaq, nafaqa, give like a charity, but not any form. I'll explain that in a minute. From that which we have given you, you give from that. Before min qabla an ya'tiya yawman, before a day comes where la bay'un fi, there's no buying or selling there, wa la khullatun, there's no friendship there, wa la shafa'a, there's no shafa'a there. Don't think now in the hereafter you can now acquire shafa'a from zero. No. Shafa'a, the roots were in this dunya. Friendship, the roots were in this dunya. Everything is here. Ad-dunya mazra'atul akhirah. So if you were empty-handed in this world in relation to guidance from the successors of the Holy Prophet, you're going to be empty in that dunya. Don't expect shafa'ah. That's the arbitrary shafa'ah we've become so used to. Otherwise, it all has to be acquired here. This point on anfiqu, giving, this infaq, where like giving charity or helping out. Here, the leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, gave a very subtle explanation of this in one of his works. It was a work which was compiled. He gave a series of lectures before the revolution. In the month of Ramadan, then it's now in the form of a book, where he says that this infaq has to fill something up. Because those empty channels underground, they also call that, from this. Comes from the same root. It says, and this is a true infaq, when you're filling a void filling a vacuum. Otherwise it won't qualify. It may qualify as a good deed, but it's not infaq. Here, look, it says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, do infaq before the day when there's no shafa anymore. As if infaq is an important means of acquiring that light. So you see, when you have a mosque, buying a bigger mosque, how much of a objective will that, complete? How much of a void would that fill? When there's a hospital, just getting a bigger hospital, or you have to see in every society, in every community, where is there a void? And then doing infaq there to fill something which is significant. Okay. And in other verses, in relation to the hereafter, it says, فَمَا تَنْفَعُهُمْ شَفَاعَةُ الشَّافِعِينَ. You're not going to benefit from the shafa'ah of the intercessors. Don't think now you enter the hereafter, now you can start looking for shafa'ah. It has to be acquired in this world. Okay. Sometimes it may continue with the question of dua. So the dua has to be at the same time a dua where you break from all else. That has light. That will be accompanied with light. You will develop light within. Sometimes it may even be the case that the effect of du'as and the enlightening of the hearts as a result of the du'as be greater upon the weak person's soul than the effect of salat. It's a weak person's soul though. For example, when they do salat, it's a very superficial salat. But sometimes that person who's weak in their salat and is not benefiting from their salat, something happens, a great tribulation, a trial, something in their life happens where they really pray to Allah. And because of the nature of the problem and the fact that really they acknowledge no one can help them, they really break from everyone. They may be usually someone who's very weak in salat, but because of the situation they're in now, and they truly, wholeheartedly acknowledge that no one can help them but Allah, they make a dua, the effect of it may be better than their salat, for example. It's possible. Just highlighting the emphasis of dua, what a potential it has. In short, recalling Allah in du'as plays its role in the heart, and the wisdom behind the element of repetition in our actions is to enlighten the heart. We keep on repeating until the heart is enlightened and be imprinted upon the heart, making Allah's remembrance second nature and thus in unity with the soul. So when it's said to say a tasbih of Alhamdulillah or La ilaha illallah or Subhanallah, this is not without purpose. The 5 daily prayers with its repeated units together with the mustahab prayers, the nafilah during the day, isn't all this so that one's essence, one's soul, be in communion with Allah's remembrance and names, so that it manifests inner light within one. Look, so you keep on doing all these. The Sharia says all these are to be repeated and repeated and repeated until you become in communion. Allah's names become second nature. Wherever you see a tree, Al-Khaliq is living within you. Whenever you see any piece of art or whatever, Ya Musawwir, any cleanliness in the world, Ya Mutahhir, all these are living within you. That's why we keep on repeating and repeating. And then to the degree these names of Allah are in unity with you, or imprinted upon the heart, or second nature, to that degree you have light. And then those attributes of Allah will save you. It is possible that shafa'ah be realized the moment one's last breath ends. It's possible. I.e., where the light of the Waliullah instantaneously marries with the light that the mu'min possesses within oneself at the time of death. We said before that barzakh is yours alone. That's the case with the majority of people, but it's possible. And with many people, they undergo, this happens with the mukhlasin, they undergo their barzakh in this world. For example, they see their hell. Look, they see their hell here, and they suffer from their hell here, and they correct and repent for it here. For us, it's after death. For them, they see it here. It's possible. Ayatollah Hassan Zadeh Amuli narrates a case where he saw a vision of his own hell, and they were knitting with needles his lips, and it caused immense pain. But it wasn't physical. It wasn't in the physical realm. But when he came out of that state, he did feel a lot of physical pain. But even there, during that state, he was suffering because they were knitting. And then he asked, why are you doing this? They said, because you talked futilely. Look, he was told what he did and what was the result. And so these people in this dunya, they correct their barzakh. But we don't see our barzakh, and there's no way of correcting it. And that's why our repentance is going to be accepted, but it's still minimum. It's not a true repentance. Repentance has degrees. Yes. In barzakh though, depending on the righteous legacies that you leave, there's still room for growth. It's as if you're still in the dunya and acting. In barzakh, yes. And one is still has an affinity to the world because one has a hospital there, has a son there, has done some projects. There's still an affinity. The affinity may sometimes be negative, and it would even be worse for them in barzakh. It's as if they're in the dunya and their vice is still continuing, and they're going to suffer even more. But the affinity to the world is there. It's only in qiyamah, that physical qiyamah, where everything is destroyed, in quotes, is destroyed. There's no affinity anymore to anything. And there one's qiyamah starts. But if someone had detached from the whole world, like the imams, the prophets, they're in the qiyamah here, let alone barzakh, but they're already starting the qiyamah. So physical death, nothing new would happen to them. With physical death, they're just continuing. Or this shafa'ah may arise in barzakh, so it may happen instantaneously on death. It may arise in barzakh, or Imam writes, at the day of resurrection, or in one of its stations, or after being burnt for a period of time in hell. So there are 50 stations in the process of resurrection before that ultimate heaven or hell is given to you. But even some people, they have so much darkness that they have to even go to hell and then be burnt in hell for a period of time. And then, if there's any light, they will have their heaven. They will pair up. There will be shafa'ah. There'll be an interplay with Allah's attributes for them. In any case, one must not feel arrogant or complacent with a shafa'ah that one has yet to learn. Because it's very funny that they're complacent and think everything's going to be okay. And they don't know what shafa'ah even is. Because they only knew the arbitrary shafa'ah. And that's led to their complacency and arrogance without even knowing what the reality of the matter is. After all, as we have said, Allah may even not grant permission at all. Or if He does so after a long period of time. Moreover, it's even possible that one may forget everything, including the divine names of the intercessors. Don't you see that with the slightest burden that arises for somebody, he or she forgets simple things and will say, X event distracted my mind. Or when acquiring the measles, for example, they will forget many things. Isn't it possible that the sakaratul maut, fear of death, loneliness in the grave, etc., may make man forget all things, including one's own divine intercessors' names, thus disenabling one to request anyone, saying, Ya Muhammad, Ya Ali. They'll forget Muhammad and Ali because they're so preoccupied with these forms of punishment. Even when they say, who is your prophet? We have traditions. They say other people's names who they had more of an affinity towards. Even the Holy Prophet, the Imams, it never entered their heart truly. How can one tell how much of Allah's attributes entered your heart? They are nothing but Allah's attributes. If none of Allah's attributes have entered your heart, yes, you're not going to remember them because they are nothing but manifestation of Allah's attributes. Those du'as that we have, for example, the clause like Ya Muhammad, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Muhammad, Ikfiyani, all these things, some people have a problem with that. They even say it's a form of shirk. Yes, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, everyone has a degree of understanding. We don't all think at the same level, but it's ignorance. They haven't understood the station of prophethood. What is a prophet? What is an imam? It's still a historic, an arbitrary imam they have in mind. But when you say, Ya Muhammad, Ya Ali, are you saying anything other than Allah's attributes? No. You see? You're not saying anything. How come when you sit on a chair, there's no shirk there? This chair, you sit on it. You're calling for it when you want comfort. You sit on it. The chair is comforting you. There's no problem there. Or when you drink a glass of water, what is satiating you? What's quenching your thirst? The water or Allah? There you get the water and you drink it. But you know Allah is quenching the thirst, not the water. The water has no independent properties. It's all Allah's attributes. Allah is comforting you, not the chair. Allah is curing you, not the doctor. The imams are a manifestation of Allah's attributes. More than the doctor is, more than the chair. You see? So, when you say you're Muhammad, but since they are human beings, they reflect nothing but Allah's attributes. But since they're human beings, they're more tangible for me and you. We can relate to them easier. If we didn't have them, we would just be drowning ourselves in an imaginary God, a rational God. Unless you're one of the mukhlasin, who is in the presence of the real Allah. Yes. So you'll even forget. And yes, we have traditions that they'll forget. Who's your prophet? They keep on giving other names. Because they regarded those other people with independence. They had a strong affinity with those people. And it didn't lead to them incorporating Allah's attributes. They were misguided. And then one will enter hell and burn. And towards the end, after one's inner impurities have been burnt off, and one has become pure, now the time will arrive for the Tawheedi light, which one had forgotten about. Everyone had it, but some people had veiled it with their actions so much that they had forgotten about it. And which was concealed and buried deep down one's soul, this will shine forth. And then the owner of hell will inculcate the names of the intercessors and they will recall it. But it's all cause and effect. It's all based on, there's no arbitration here. There's no conventionality. And it's possible that some people will stay in hell. Yes. They'll always stay and they're comfortable there. as some traditions say. They will play with the spiders and the fire. So they're suffering in the beginning, a long period. May Allah not give us a share of that. But eventually, the burning is not going to be decreased, but they will become used to it. They become ahlun nar, ahl. They become ahl. It becomes acquainted with it so much now. It's like if you go into a sauna, in the beginning it's very hot, the sauna. Let's say 40, 50 degrees. But after a number of days, it's the same 40 or 50 degrees, but you've become used to it. Something on those lines. You become ahl. Yes, some people may have, they'll always stay in hell. Although the fact that hell is eternal, there's no problem there. All scholars accept that there's hell and some people will be in hell forever. If someone says everyone will go to heaven, that is devoid, it's empty of true irfani Quranic principles. So it's possible to be in hell forever. There's no problem there. Everyone accepts that. But the question is burning eternal? That is suffering eternal. Will that be forever too? To be in hell forever, no problem. But to suffer forever, is that possible or not? Here, the theologians, the majority say yes, there's eternal suffering. Amongst the Urafa, there are two different perspectives though. Some say yes, there's eternal suffering. Some, like Ayatollah Hassan Zadeh, say no, suffering isn't eternal. They become they become acquainted with it. There's one verse in the Quran where the two, with two different interpretations, they use the same verse. This is like ijtihad of the verse of the Quran. In chapter 22, it reads, Kullama, whenever. Look, it's whenever. When you say whenever, it means whenever. Aradu, they will, they desire. Ayakhruju minha min gham. So whenever they will to exit hell because of this sorrows and suffering, it will be said to them, to the inmates of hell, it will be said, U'idu fiha wa dhuqu adhab al-hariq. That go back in, return there, and taste the punishment of burning. So they're still burning, new, everything, suffering continuing. It's hariq for them still. They don't become used to it. So some say, look, this is proof that whenever they want to exit, a new set of hariq, suffering, will arise for them. But those who say, no, actually this verse shows that it's not going to be eternal suffering, even though they will be in hell forever, but they won't suffer forever. Kullama aradu ay yakhruju minha. Where every time they desire or will to exit. Some people, after a period of time, they won't desire to exit. They'd rather stay in hell. They don't want to get out of hell. And actually getting out of hell will be more of a punishment for them. We have traditions where the Holy Prophet enters hell and sees the inmates of hell. They say, oh, close the doors. What's this? We're suffering. Close the doors. Don't let him in. It can be even more of a problem. I'll just give one example. You have to forgive the example. But for example, you have number 2. You want to go to the lavatories, you have number 2, you're on the streets outside. And out of your own actions, it's now reaching at the brink of explosion. It's very bad now. Then they say, someone comes to you and says, we have 2 rooms here. Which one do you want to go to? In that state of utter desperation. They say one is a very luxurious hotel, restaurant, with kebabs here on the table waiting for you. That is punishment for that person who's on the brink of explosion. You're punishing him with that. That's the last thing they want, to see that scene. Or you tell them there's another room. It's a dark, black, smelly pit. That would be lovely for that person, because he can relieve himself. They'll choose that one. Because that which they've acquired therein, inside them, is on a par with that. And so, in tradition, they say they become used to it. And they did actions of a level that they never had any light. It was so veiled, they didn't acquire any light for them to acquire, and they will remain in hell. Even though suffering will come to an end, but they will remain there. So that's also possible. And so, the final paragraph, Imam says, and so these divine trends and customs and signs should not be interpreted futilely. If things were to be realized as the Mimbaris dictate, remember the first paragraph that we read, how the Mimbaris would propagate that arbitrary intercession, that the Imam would say, he'll say the Shuhada will forgive and all your sins instantaneously will be forgiven. If things were to be realized as they dictate, then the prophets and Imams wouldn't have placed themselves through so much struggle. The intercessors themselves wouldn't have been so fearful for the people and wouldn't have emphasized the fears lying ahead. If it was that easy, they wouldn't have been so fearful for the masses. So it's not an arbitrary thing. It's something real. You burn your hand, it has to heal. It has to go through the phases. Okay. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala tahirin. Yes, yes.
There is also one verse which says that your skin will be replaced.
Yes, yes.
Where does that come from?
Yes. It will be replaced. Because punishment, that's one form. The fire, all this will be there. The question, the fire will never go down. It's just a question of being used to it now. They become ahl. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You told about infaq.
Yes.
Can you explain to me a little bit?
Yes. It was a marginal point, but I did come across it in the leader's book, that, nifaq, hypocrisy, is because nafagha, the word, these underground tunnels, they also call that. It comes from the same root word. That's why we call a hypocrite, because underground is, yes. Those underground channels, they're empty. They're empty. It's a vacuum, yes. It has to be filled. When you do infaq, although all forms of charity are good, but infaq is a higher form. Is somebody or a community or a nation. For a nation may not have a technology, a knowledge. You have it. You give it to that nation. That is infaq. That nation didn't have this technology, for example. Or an individual person. Or, yes, for example, sometimes you may give someone who has a good car. You help them to get the same quality car or a better car. Like that, you're not filling anything. But someone doesn't have a car, and you get them a small car. It doesn't matter. But you filled a vacuum for them. Yes. 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 Assalamu alaikum. Yes.
Sheikh, when it says that Khalidina fiha abada,
Yes.
is it for a specific group of people?
Yes. Yes. So it means they'll be in hell forever. Now, abadan, the abadan is different for every person. Yes. So it's on a par with that person, what abadan means. It's on a par with what they have acquired, the inner veils of darkness and concealed shirk, that defines their abadan. Because abadan it means a time span without any limits. Okay? Any time span, without any limits, the Arabic used the word abada. Okay? Now, but the context of the verse, we're talking about people. So we then have to tune it, that absolute time, to a given person. Okay, so yes. But for some people, they will be there forever. Yes. Yes. There was one question someone asked, that this shafa'ah, which you've explained, when you're in this dunya and you ask for wealth or health from the imams, in reality from Allah, and you're given it in this dunya, is that shafa'ah too? And the answer is yes. But the shafa'ah we were discussing here is a shafa'ah which was pertaining to the hereafter. How it manifests in the hereafter. Sometimes it may manifest in this dunya and it will stay in this dunya. The shafa'ah we were talking about was a function of the soul, because the story of the soul continues after physical death. Yes, that was one point which... Yes.
You said that in order to bear with the light of awliya Allah,
Yes.
you need to go to the different degree of punishment.
Punishment, yes.
In order to compensate for the sins.
Yes.
How? But how do we, like, there are different peoples of different faith or different belief.
Yes.
Now, we're going through different punishment or the conceal.
Right, right.
which we have done. But the other guys also have done same thing.
Right.
Now, why the other guys will remain forever in the hell? So the punishment should cure them as it is pure.
Yes. It will pure everyone. So, you mean other guys? You mean like Christians and Jews and yes, in the Quran. Yes. If I just, there's one chapter in Surah Baqarah in the beginning. It's just that I'm not half it. So see in this verse. So inna alladhina amanu, the Muslims, walladhina hadu, the Jews, wan nasara, the Christians, was sabi'in, the Sabians, whoever they are. Man amana billah wal yawmil akhir wa amila salihah. That's the criterion. That faith in Allah, the last day, and righteous actions. فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. So their ajr, their reward is before Allah, and there's no fear and there's nothing to grieve about. But this ajr, and having no fear, nothing to grieve about, has degrees. Okay? Has degrees. The ultimate criterion is how much of a Khalifatullah were you? How much of Allah's attributes did you incorporate within you? A Christian, yes, their books have been distorted. Let's say now they have 50% of the truth, but they act upon it 40%. A Muslim has the Quran, it's 100%, but they only act 20%. Yet they will be higher. Yes, there's no complacency here. They'll be in a higher reach. They will burn, and their light, which they have incorporated, will save them. Yes. We only say, we don't say either Muhammad's way or no way. No. We only say perfection is confined to the Muhammadan protocol, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That perfection, 100%. Whereas other books, scriptures, those so-called religions, they don't have access to 100%, but they have access to a degree. Yes.
Or the internal fitrah which...
Yes, they have a fitrah. It may be higher than us, it may be lower. Yes, it's not just because you have the label Muslim, it's not a guarantee. Yes, Bismillah. Sure, yes.
This degree of punishment, to go through that, and then we pair up with the light of the
Yes.
So I'm already going through this punishment, then why I need shafa'ah? I'm not against shafa'ah.
Yes. So shafa'ah is Allah's...
Going through the punishment.
Yes, yes. So shafa is Allah's attributes now coming your way, forgiving you, His mercy, His love, all this. But since you sinned, that can't manifest for you. You have to burn a bit, then the light that you have will receive Allah's attributes.
I'm already going through punishment.
Yes, you're going under punishment, yes.
So, like, I want to come from here to there.
Right.
I'm walking.
Yes.
So I'm already reaching there. Then why I need shafa? Like,
Yes.
to the punishment
Yes.
or directly?
Yeah, no, shafa is part of the process then. It's cause and effect. Like the burning of your hand is healing now. This healing itself, yes, it's part of the process. Well, I'm not sure I've understood the question, but yes. Just trying to think of an analogy that maybe, yes.
Like I want to reach you.
Yes.
Now, but he's helping me to reach you.
Yes.
Okay. But otherwise also I'm reaching you and I'm saying that I'm going to that punishment.
Yes.
That means shafa is benefiting me.
Yes. So you want to reach me, I have to get your hand.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. But I can't get your hand because you're veiled. Once the veils break, it's possible for me to get your hand.
But then if the veils is break, I might not need you because I've already reached that.
No, when you say don't need you, you mean you don't need Allah's attributes. That's impossible. When you're drinking water, it's Allah's the quencher of your thirst. Everything that happens, it's Allah's attributes. You can't be without that. You see, you can't be without Allah's attributes. This is the heart of the matter in Shafa'a. It's all Allah's attributes. You can't say, well, now I've been burnt, I don't need Allah, your forgiveness, your this, your that. Without that, I won't exist. You see? Yes. If you give it time maybe to digest, it's a bit difficult, yes. Okay. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله.